Hey, Marvel. You done frigged up.
This was not shit.
BFD, Marvel frigged up.
Big time.
Welcome back, boys and girls.
Yeah.
Yes, it's been a while. It's been since last year since we've done a movie review.
It has.
Last
It's
year
been
was like 2 months ago.
it's been quite a bit.
Yeah, anyways, we saw Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania.
In case you couldn't tell from the title.
When we're doing these movie reviews, we like to talk about the filmmaking, we like to talk about the plot or story, and we like to talk about the characters. So we're going to jump on the gun and we're going to talk about the filmmaking starting now.
So here's what's up. This movie was boring in the filmmaking.
Yeah.
It just kind of felt the samey
I mean,
as like everything.
yeah. Now, I will say at this point, it's an MCU movie. I don't expect the filmmaking to be any more than what it is.
But
I
I
don't
don't
know, man.
want that. That's not an excuse.
Well, think of like...
You're not gonna get that. It's
Think-
an MCU movie.
That's not true.
No. That's not fair. Think of first of all, Werewolf by Night,
I haven't seen that yet.
I haven't seen that yet.
which granted I guess it is it's feature length.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also think about Black Panther 2. There were some interesting visual things.
Wakanda Forever was great.
Yes. And when that happens, cherish that because that's not their standard.
Yeah,
And
I'll
this
agree.
was a standard MCU movie.
I mean,
and for a standard MCU movie, it was one of the best that they've made since Endgame.
On the filmmaking, what do we mean by this wasn't visually interesting? Well, for one, what we're referring to is the fact that only 2 scenes actually take place in something approximating the real world.
3.
Okay, there are a very limited number of scenes where, out of the entire movie, where anything takes place in the real world or anything approximating something that is real. And while, yes, of course, there are sets in this movie, nothing feels grounded. And again, it is Quantumania. It is in the quantum realm verse, multi-layered Lego Saga Ninjagos. But again, there's nothing visually happening because everything is green screen. They don't even have the excuse of saying that this is in the volume because it's not in the volume.
Well, and what's crazy about that, and so let's clarify more so, speaking of the cinematography, is where the mid quote comes in. Because it does look cool. I mean, we are in this sort of unknown realm, and we've got all these cool, like, devil's buttholes, and, like, these weird aliens, and, like, some cool tech. But even with all of that, the camera did this. Or it did this. Whoa. And so, not only was the cinematography, the camera work mid, but the score was also very lame. It was they went onto YouTube and said, epic royalty-free music. and the truth is, it doesn't have to be like that. If we're saying like it's MCU, what about Black Panther? Wakanda Forever? I mean, that score was totally accurate and it made everything hype. Whereas this was, it was ADHD music. Just to keep you not.
That's why I liked it.
Music is supposed to contain a leitmotif when it's in film, and it's supposed to represent a character or an idea, and it's supposed to present itself at each point in the film in which something major happens with this character or this idea, and each time the score is varied until the very end it becomes its own thing. Think The Dark Knight Rises with the Batman theme. At the very end, when Bruce finally climbs out of the well, where the Dark Knight theme combines and makes itself full. We don't get anything like that in this movie. What we get is bum 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 bum, and that's it.
Even in the most emotionally impactful moments, it's still just the same thing. There's like maybe 3 scenes that hold some sort of emotional weight, and they all sound and look the same.
And the acting's the same.
It is.
The editing once they got in the quantum realm until going to like the beginning of Act 2 was really weird because we were cutting between the 2 parties of Scott and his daughter and Hope and her parents. And the parent arc that was going on, hoping the parents, they were actually doing something. And each time we cut to Scott, it was like, huh, what's going on? And they're like, drink the juice. And then it cuts away, and it's like, what? Nothing happened. Why did we see that? Why did? And then when it cuts back, it's literally the continuation of that scene. Nothing happened in the first time, and it's like, it's just unbalanced in terms of like what was actually happening. It was really weird. That was the worst part.
Hey, have you seen Dunkirk? You know how they do the time thing?
Yeah.
That's what happened here. But
now we're going to talk about the story.
Speaking of the differentiation, yeah, the pacing was real weird because again, I don't know what it is with you guys in modern movies and wanted to do 20 different storylines that don't matter. Okay? Keep it simple.
Stupid.
Yeah, but like there's 2 different arcs, neither of them really being consistent with the theme, as little as there is, except maybe the Justin Long and Cassie one, whatever his name is, Scott Lang.
Justin
Long?
$10. There was like a little bit there, but yeah, it was like there's like we see in this part of the quantum realm. And then we're also seeing this, and then Bill Murray's in it for like 2 seconds. I guess they couldn't afford him or something.
He showed up for his one day.
It was a cool cameo.
It was a fine
yeah, it'd be a cool cameo if they didn't show it in every trailer.
Yeah.
See? Yeah, but here's what you do. You do what I did. You don't watch a fucking trailer for an MCU movie because they show you the entire thing. I stayed away from every trailer
That's
going
fair,
into this
but
movie.
if you go to the movies, then they show it, and...
You know what you do?
I actually did not see a trailer.
That's what I did.
I'd actually watched the trailer, and I still knew he was in it. But when he showed up, he was like... Yeah. And they were like, huh, that's cool. Yeah. His character didn't do anything.
His character was there just to show the other characters that Janet did some stuff that she's trying to keep them away from. But that was already established beforehand. And it was already clear. She literally says in the previous scene, we'll talk about it when we get there, but we gotta go find Scott. And then they go and they get to this place, and this guy's like, y'all know she did something.
And we're like,
yeah.
Yes. Janet could have just said something. This entire film happens because she just didn't talk.
This entire film happens because she, being an experienced scientist, unplugged an unstable prototype, like, quantum thing without actually turning it off. That's why the movie happened. She unplugged it while it was running.
Yeah.
You don't unplug shit while it's running. You don't.
Yes, they wouldn't have been in this situation if when they were sitting at dinner or before, like, any of this has happened, she would have been like, hey, this is what happened. And here's the thing. That could have worked, except they don't show any process of her rejecting the quantum realm. When she comes out in the movie previous, she's just like, my family, And there's no evidence that she is traumatized, afflicted, or anything by being in the quantum realm. So there's no reason for her to not want to talk about it, except plot.
The refusal to the call of adventure, essentially, and then you go on the adventure. And the adventure is what you learned, what you needed to know at the beginning. It's what the story's about, but that never happens. So her character is wasted.
So my second biggest thing was that the climax, the only reason why the Langs, or whatever you want to call them, the ant people, one, was because there's ants that are smart. And again, there's no real explanation for that. And then they just show up, and there's this 1,000 years because we're in science we don't know. And then they show up and they wreck shit.
But it's a Deus Ex Machina, yeah.
Deus and Machina.
Deus Ex Antica.
Yeah.
I will say, using that as an example, you don't hear jokes like that in this movie. The jokes are actually not super cringe-inducing.
Pretty much.
So, and then on top of the ant thing, correct me if I'm wrong, but Kang is like super powerful, right? Like he's like, a real.
I do think it was
guy.
crazy that Kang got conquered by ants.
And then
Yeah, seeing what he did like 5 minutes prior, I don't understand why he couldn't have just slaughtered everybody literally like
Honestly.
that.
yeah, well, and he literally says to Ant-Man, which power scaling, hello. He says, "You're just the guy who talks to ants."
My biggest gripe with this movie, and it's the fundamental core, message of the movie, is that it states a thesis, or more so, it states a problem. Scott Lang has lost time with his daughter.
Yeah.
Doesn't solve that issue.
Well, he does.
No. Hear me out. Kang comes to Janet and says, "I can help you reclaim lost time." He tells Scott, "I can help you reclaim lost time." That is not the driving force in the movie. Wouldn't it be more powerful of a film? Scott starts out the movie, "I've missed all this time with Cassidy. I've missed all this time, all of this time. I didn't get to see her grow up. I was in jail. Then I was, in the quantum realm." And then Kang says, "If you help me, I can send you back."
And unlike Janet, he takes it.
And it's
Yes.
like
That'd be crazy, yeah.
It's a reverse. It's a Wonderful Life.
Imagine how strong of a story that would have been, and then, he's got to do some shenanigans or whatever. Again, I know that would change fundamentally everything about it, but that could still be a strong Scott and Cassidy story.
Yeah.
That still could be. You can't get Cassidy being, the next Ant-Man, I guess, but in this version, because she
Cassidy?
is it.
It's Cassidy. I agree. And let's say that that's not even the theme. Let's say the theme is that Scott has forgotten what it means to be a hero, sort of. However you want to put that, because another question that's posed is that Cassidy's nuts says is like, yeah, you saved the world, but now what do you do?
Yeah.
And so there's that opportunity.
Yeah.
And we see that play out sort of in the plot, kind of. But then at the end of the day, we have a repeat of the first image, which, well done.
Yeah.
But he's like, well, this happened, and now it's the same, and now did I do this? Who cares?
Yeah, we're right back where we started, and he was already close with his daughter, but now he's close with his daughter.
My biggest gripe about this movie, they didn't have his best friend do a retelling of a story, voicing everybody in the story.
Well,
Did we lose
they
him?
He
were
wasn't even in the movie.
they refused to make this a heist film, and then tried to shoehorn in you gotta get it's a heist. I hear you're good at stealing things, and it's like one sequence, and that's it.
No, but it was a good sequence.
I will say,
No.
you don't think so?
No.
Here's what I think. Here's what I'll say. It was pretty funny. It was pretty funny. Camera died. Haha.
Okay, so we were talking about the sequence where Ant-Man was trying to get the multiversal engine. Jake said that it was really good and has beautiful imagery, but they kind of messed it up at the very end because they just stated exactly what happened. I agree. However, I think it was still a missed opportunity talking about this theme about wanting to spend time with Cassidy or with
Again.
Cassie, whatever her name is. It doesn't matter. Purple
That's
girl.
how little she mattered.
Purple girl. Okay, so what should have happened in this sequence is instead of him and Hope coming together and then all of their iterations all come together for a single purpose, that should have happened as soon as Cassie told him, "Hey, I need you to do this, Dad." And all the Ant-Mans say, "Yeah, we need to do this for Cassie. We need to do this for Cassie." Okay, why didn't you all come together at the same point then? Wouldn't that have been even stronger? Like, "Oh, Dad, I need your help. Please, you have to do this." And then you just see from the background all of these Ant-Mans just start disappearing. And then our Ant-Man's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it." And they just like that. That's more powerful.
Well, and there's
There's nothing about Hope and Scott in this movie. There's nothing whatsoever about their love or anything like that. And then it comes together at the very end. It's like, "I love you, I love you." And it's like, maybe that's the first time we've heard that.
Yeah.
But it's like, what does that have to do
I
with
will
the
say
theme?
though, I thought it was interesting. Like, in like one of the first scenes of the movie, Cassie calls Hank Grandpa. Also, they said a lot of things that lead me to believe that her mom is dead, or just out of the picture.
No, she's still there.
Okay.
That is how it felt.
That's how it felt.
Like
It felt like that she was just living with them, and Hope was pretty much her mom, which then would make the whole, coming together thing for Cassie make sense, because I was just under the impression that she was basically her mom now.
Right. Well, and here's the final problem with this whole movie, and I think this sums up our issues with everything, is that this is not a sequel to Ant-Man and the Wasp. This is not the third movie in a trilogy. This is simply a very, very long teaser trailer for the next movie with Kang. This is why this movie does not feel like a continuation of the Ant-Man movies. Yeah, it is of the mythos, maybe, of the Ant-Man, but that's it. And that's why this feels so weird.
But I feel like if they were to make just a direct sequel to an Ant-Man movie, I just feel like it'd really fall flat.
Then just don't make it.
Theoretically, but again, I think what I laid out about reclaiming the lost time, if you want to go with Kang as the bad guy, I think that's a perfectly valid story to tell. That Ant-Man is always the guy who his solo movies kind of stink, but his team-ups are usually where he shines the best. Why not give him something really emotional to work with in the third one? I'm not saying he has to be a crybaby all the time.
You want an emotional scene in an MCU movie?
Chris is too jaded.
I'm not jaded,
Chris is jaded by all of Phase 4, minus like 2 shows.
I have hope, mankind. You know what? We've talked a lot of shit. Let me talk a little bit good, okay? The jokes were pretty funny sometimes. MODOK, he's silly, right? That's his character, is he's silly.
Yeah, Jake, are you in focus?
I don't care. He looks silly. And I was really hoping that they wouldn't just have his face, and they didn't. Or the mask, they showed his face. And Darren, I loved what they did with MODOK.
Yeah.
Even if it was a little and he's gone too soon, maybe. I love how they kind of treated him like a loser. They kept interrupting him, which is funny, and then his face was all real big, and they showed his tiny little butt, which is pretty funny. All the side characters that were in the movie for like 10 minutes, all those guys were awesome. They were hilarious. They were heartfelt. The only time I felt emotional is when Laserface died. And Kang did the Kung Fu Panda thing. If there was a moment where I was like, that was it.
Yeah, it's not really a direct Ant-Man sequel, but it is a pretty good introduction into what's going to be the whole, multiverse and Kang arc. One thing about Kang, when I heard that they were going to use Kang the Conqueror as pretty much the next Thanos, wasn't really sure if he was going to be able to live up to, what Thanos brought to everything. But honestly, I was fairly impressed with the acting of Kang, and I really want to see more of him. But overall, I would say this is the most fun that I have had watching an MCU movie since Endgame. Really, it's not the best since Endgame. I still think that lies with Black Panther 2. There's a lot of jokes that don't really land, but there's not a single joke that is just absolute cringe-inducing. The character design of all of the side characters, nobody looked the same, and there was definitely detail and creativity to all of the character designs, and I really loved seeing that. Even on like the vegetation of the quantum realm,
Broccoli Man.
Yeah, it was just overall fun. MCU made me feel like, in some ways, the early days of MCU, when you're just having fun watching it. Not the best writing, not the best story, and I don't really think we're going to get that just because, I'm a pessimist now. But,
my heart.
All right, well, you've heard us talk about this movie for a long time now. If you like this video, go ahead and hit the old subscribe button,
if
and
you
go
like
ahead and
this
like
video
this
here,
video.
make sure you like the
Comment
video.
with us, or comment on this video. What do you think about this movie? Do you think this is a really good introduction into Phase 5, or do you think this is following in the footsteps of Phase 4? Let us know. And with that, we're going to give you our final rankings. I'm going to rank this a solid 6.5 out of 10.
6.5 out of 10.
Oh, dang, guys. Maybe I'm the pessimist here.
No.
6 out of 10.
Ooh.
And I honestly would probably give it a 5 if I didn't like the broccoli guy so dang much.
So with that, we will see you next week. That's right, you already know, a movie review for the best movie that's going to come out this year. Oscar-worthy, best picture, best screenplay.
Ray Liotta's last role.
The Barbie movie. See you then.
No.